the New Japan ROH G1 Supercard. Features 10 matches on pay-per-view, 1 dark match, and a Battle Royal won by Kenny King on the pre-show, last eliminating Great Muta and Jushin Thunder Liger. I won't be covering this match just because it's pre-show. I'm just going to cover the pay-per-view. The attendance for this event, taking place at Madison Square Garden in Manhattan, New York, billed as the world's famous arena, is about 16,000 plus. It's quite a feat for New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor to have partnered up and sold this venue out, as they did so in 20 minutes. This building, it's the first time anyone has held a wrestling event in this arena, the world's most famous arena, since the 1960s, other than the WWE. The McMahons have made their name there, Vince Sr., and then Vince McMahon Jr., his son. The WWE even had to actually move their NXT TakeOver show to Friday. It was originally scheduled to be on this Saturday, but because of this event, they didn't want to clash, as I imagine they were worried about ticket sales. This is also all occurring during WrestleMania weekend, as WrestleMania is the next day on Sunday. I'm sure a lot of the fans who are in this event may have went to TakeOver and also are going this event and WrestleMania. So it's an entire weekend for people to travel out to watch wrestling. So to start off is the match between Jeff Cobb, who is the ROH TV champion, against Will Ospreay, who is the Never Openweight champion. This match is for both titles. And just going over the highlights of the match. Will Ospreay goes for a Sasuke special with Cobb outside the ring. However, a bit of a botch here. Jeff Cobb didn't really catch Ospreay on the shoulder for the counter, but then he has him hoisted up on his shoulder and Ospreay hits a DDT reversal, which is pretty good. They eventually make their way to the ring and Cobb hits a stalling superplex. Ospreay gains an advantage once again. Cobb reverses a kick and does a fallaway slam to Ospreay that threw him quite a distance over his head. Both combatants exchange kicks, and Ospreay with a great clothesline counter into a Spanish fly. Fans go nuts over this, chanting, "This is awesome." Jeff Cobb tosses Ospreay to the corner after stopping an Oscutter attempt. Ospreay then lands on the second rope and hits an Oscutter. This is a pretty amazing spot for a 2 count. Fans are going crazy at this point. Eventually they make their way to the corner after a Chicky Nando's kick by Will Ospreay. He tries to go for the Stormbreaker from the top rope, but Cobb stops him, headbutts him, and then hits Super Tour of the Islands and does another one from standing position this time to put Ospreay away for a 3 count. So this match, there was a great pace and flow to the match, I thought, and although there wasn't too much psychology here, it was quite entertaining, and I mean, with time constraints and everything, they can only do so much. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a great start to the pay-per-view, and this gives Cobb both championships, and not really surprised because of the fact that Jeff Cobb wrestles quite a bit in both Japan and in ROH. So he's going to be facing Taiji in Japan to defend his Never Openweight title. He's yet to lose in America with ROH. So the match was about 12 minutes and 52 seconds long, so not a very long match. It's a good amount of time, though. I would rate this about 4.25 stars. Great start to the show, actually. And coming to the next match, it's Dalton Castle with the boys versus Roosh, I should say. Leading into this match, Dalton Castle seems to be falling on some hard times, trying to prove himself once again that he can challenge for the world title. And Roosh is the newcomer, only been here for a few months, having beaten Bandido on the previous pay-per-view. As they go for the code of honor handshake, Roosh just kicks Dalton Castle's hand away, looking very intense and anxious to just get the match started and get going. Boy 1 left his feather in the ring, the feather that they wave onto Dalton Castle, and comes into the ring to get it out. Dalton Castle is distracted. The bell rings and Roosh hits a shotgun dropkick to Castle into the corner. He hits 2 more dropkicks in the corner and just pins him 1, 2, 3 right there. This whole sequence lasted 15 seconds. Roosh looks strong, but Dalton Castle is trying to find his way back to the world title, which he lost last year, mostly because of an injury. And he seems to be stuck in the mid-card. He ends up attacking the boys after the match and turns on them. So, looking like he's going to be transitioning into a lone wolf, maybe. Who knows? I mean, this is more of a heel turn for Dalton Castle. But, yeah. Not much to say about this match. Just kind of storyline progression as Roosh kind of makes his way up the ladder through ROH. Looks like he may have title shot at some point. After this match, also, Juice Robinson was shown to be attacked by some unknown assailant. People are rushing for help. It was probably Bully Ray, who he was scheduled to be wrestling. And Bully Ray is known for some shenanigans. So yeah, 15 seconds. I gave it a 1.75 stars. I mean, even though not much was going on, it's 15 seconds. It is a shock, and it is telling quite a bit of a story, which I appreciate, which is why I'm giving it a higher score than probably other people would. It was a complete squash, but I do appreciate the storytelling. On to the next match. It's Kelly Klein versus Mayu Iwatani, coming out with Sumi Sakai. And Mayu Iwatani is the Women of Honor champions for the title. Mayu gets a rear naked choke fairly early on in this match, but Kelly Klein powers out of it. There's a good body press from the top rope to the outside by Iwatani onto Kelly Klein. She flew through the air quite high, and it looked beautiful. There was a reverse Rana inside the ring, which by Mayu, which didn't look great. She hit a dragon suplex, but Klein's leg was on the rope. Kelly Klein ended up with a definitive finish, hitting 2 K powers and the 3 count. After the match, the beautiful people came out. Angelina Love in Velvet Sky. A little out of place in 2019, I would say. But, I mean, Mandy Leon comes down from the commentary desk and attacks Kelly Klein. And they all attack her together, put some put an anarchist type symbol on her forehead using lipstick, which is similar to what Love and Velvet used to do in TNA. The trio go to the ramp, and the Tron shows the word allure with the symbol on it, so I guess that's what the symbol means. It's not, this whole wasn't a terrible match by any means, but it was pretty forgettable. Again, this was about 10 minutes, 38 seconds, so maybe with more time, maybe they could have done better, but there wasn't much to it. Segment afterward, I feel like went maybe a bit too long. This is trying to build up kind of storylines in the women's division in ROH. It's a little bit disappointing for this to be the only women's segment on the entire event. Like, this match wasn't great, and I wouldn't even consider it really a good match even. And for this to be the only kind of women's thing on the entire show is quite disappointing. Give it about 2.25 stars. Next is the Bully Ray New York Street fight, which is supposed to be against Juice Robinson, but we saw that he was taken out, and it seems like he's not able to compete. So before the match, the fans are booing the rapper Mega Ran, who made the song for the show, Going to the Garden, which they played at the beginning of the show, and he raps it out here. But the fans are kind of crapping on him. But he gets attacked by Bully Ray. Well, he's just pushed a few times and hit with the chain. And on the mic, Bully alludes to attacking Juice Robinson and offers an open challenge. And out comes Flip Gordon to answer the challenge, to a pretty good reception. Flip Gordon was out for a while, and also he had a rivalry going on with Bully Ray for quite a while in 2018. Flip Gordon ended up winning an I Quit match that ended that rivalry, but here he's back again to take him on. So in the match, Flip Gordon has a top rope dive reversed into a Bubba cutter, early in the match. And Bubba goes out and gets a table to set it up in the ring. Fans chanting, "Tables, tables," as Flip's about to attack Bully with the kendo stick. Silas Young and Shane Taylor come out to help Bully and attack Flip Gordon. At this time, Lifeblood comes out to interrupt. Their music plays, Mark Haskins and Juice Robinson, and they turn it into a 3-on-3 match, coming out to a ring with a bin full of weapons as well. So the match now is Juice Robinson, Mark Haskins, Flip Gordon versus Silas Young, Bully Ray, and Shane Taylor. PG watch a plunge by Silas Young, and the springboard moonsault he hits on Juice Robinson is done onto a chair, which is pretty well done. As Juice Robinson and Mark Haskins of Lifeblood are down on the outside, Bully and company get kendo sticks and trap Flip Gordon in the middle of the ring. They're all pointing their kendo sticks at him while he's just in the middle. Flip challenges each one of them to give their strongest lashes, which each of the kendo sticks, and takes it from Silas Young first, then Shane Taylor. And he gets hit and then no-sells it each time, but you can see the welts on his back, the lacerations. Then he goes up to Bully Ray and flips him off, challenges him to hit him even harder than he did. in their I Quit match. So then Bully obliges, breaks the kendo stick over his back. Flip Gordon no-sells it once again, showing his strength to endure the lashes. Then Lifeblood enter the ring with their own kendo sticks, hand one to Flip Gordon, and they have a standoff. The face team, Flip Gordon's team, gets the better of the heels, and Bully walks out only to have Juice bring him back in, so he begs for his life. He's on his knees, but he stalls enough so that his partners can help make the save. Flip springboard off the second rope to go after Taylor, but he hits him with a garbage can. Taylor hits Flip with a garbage can. The heels set up a table for Bully to powerbomb Flip through. Why they're not making a cover at this point, I don't know. Lifeblood pulls Bully's legs, and they pull his nether regions into the turnbuckle, and he yells, "Ah, my balls!" An anarchist suplex by Young to Haskins onto a chair. Then Haskins reverses to hit him with a double stomp onto two chairs. Taylor brings out a pallet, and Juice hits a cannonball into the pallet in the corner to Taylor. Haskins hits the "was up" headbutt that the Dudleys do, and Flip hits the 450 splash to win the match. This is a good, fun, hardcore match, although not too much depth or anything spectacular other than the kendo stick lashes to really write home about. But, I mean, this match delivered entertainment. I enjoyed it. And it was about 15 minutes long. I'd give it 3 3/4 stars. I actually quite enjoyed the entertainment that this match brought. So, now comes the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match between Dragon Lee, Bandido, and Taiji Ishimori, who is the champion. So starting the match, Dragon Lee does a turning dive to the outside, which is well done. Or I should say Bandido did this to Dragon Lee onto the outside. Ishimori Irish whips Dragon Lee to the ropes, and instead of coming back to Ishimori, Dragon Lee jumps over the ropes to perform a Hurricane Rana onto Bandido from the apron to the outside, which was an amazing spot. Ishimori follows him to do a moonsault from the second rope to the outside onto Dragon Lee as the fans erupt. Ishimori then, with Bandido in the ring, does his great Houdiniac through the ropes and around Bandido to end up doing a springboard top rope knee strike onto Bandido. It was a great sequence. Dragon Lee then breaks up the pin to get Ishimori in the corner with Combinacion Cabron, and then a running corner dropkick. Shout out to his brother Roosh. Dragon Lee eventually reverses a Hurricanrana attempt by Ishimori into his sit-out last ride for a 2 count. All three men have an amazing sequence that ends with Dragon Lee hitting a running Canadian destroyer to Ishimori, and the fans erupt once again, even louder this time with "This is awesome" chants. Another amazing sequence by the three men with a pop-up cutter by Bandido onto Ishimori, ending the sequence. Ishimori with a bloody cross variation from a tombstone position onto Dragon Lee for a 2 count. Bandido performs the spot of the night by getting both men onto a backflip slam from the top rope. The fans at this point giving a standing ovation with "Holy shit" chants, and "This is awesome." Dragon Lee eventually hits a vertical suplex into a sit-out powerbomb onto Bandido for the 3 count and is the new junior heavyweight champion. Will probably end up defending it against Takahashi, whose neck he injured last year, unfortunately. This was just fast-paced action from the opening bell, adrenaline rush, and the match had amazing flow, so many spots in such a small time frame. I mean, I feel like this match just proves that you don't need a long, drawn-out match to be amazing, really. So, 8 minutes, 54 seconds. I described so much of the match. It was only 8 minutes and 54 seconds. Less than 9 minutes. I had to give it up to these guys. I rated 4 3/4 stars. I was just so amazed with what these three men were able to do in that time frame. I mean, that was pretty crazy. Next is the match for the tag team titles between Evil and Sonata versus the Briscoes versus Guerrillas of Destiny, who are the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Champions, coming out with Jado. PCO and Brody King, who are the ROH Champions. This match is for both tag titles. A little awkward sequence in the start of the match, leading to Sonata putting on a Paradise Lock on Tongaloa. Good chemistry between the Briscoes and LIJ, which are Evil and Sonata, as the Briscoes get the better of them, sending them out. Senton Plancha by Brody King onto G.O.D. and Jay Briscoe on the outside. Then Mark Briscoe follows that up with a corkscrew from the second rope onto Brody King. Blockbuster by Mark Briscoe from the apron to Tongaloa on the outside. Evil traps a chair around Tama Tonga's neck on the outside and then bats it with another chair. I thought that was pretty cool. The Briscoes close to winning the match, but Brody King breaks up the pin on Tama. Eventually gets Mark Briscoe down on the apron for PCO to hit a front flip senton onto Briscoe from the top rope. That looked like it hurt. King and PCO almost win the match after PCO hits a moonsault onto Mark Briscoe from the top rope, but G.O.D. break up the pin. G.O.D. then spotted the match, powerbomb PCO from the inside of the ring to the floor outside. Dangerous looking bump, and the fans are kind of in shock while Tama Tonga is taunting PCO. PCO then briefly sits up, then goes back down, almost like he's coming to life. Jado hits Brody King with the kendo stick as he's coming off the ropes to attack Tongaloa, then G.O.D. finish him off. Tama Tonga hitting the gun stun cutter. Tongaloa hitting the super powerbomb for the victory in both the IWGP Heavyweight and ROH Tag titles. So after the match, it's a bit of confusion as there's fighting that seems to be going on outside the ring. That it seems like the commentary and the camera seems to be avoiding. The GOD seem to be distracted and confused as to what's happening. Toriano is up the ramp with having stolen the IWGP tag titles. And the reaction by GOD to this seemed to be a little off. Like, Tongaloa and Jado are trying to get Tama Tonga's attention. It's like, hey, look, this guy's got our tag titles. It's what's happening on the outside is kind of throwing everything off. So what I've looked into is that it seems to be Enzo and Cass, the former Enzo and Cass, jumped the rail and started attacking the Briscoes, fighting them in what seems to be a work shoot type of deal, just because it seems like the security wasn't quick to act on this, and that kind of makes me suspicious as to how much of a shoot this really was. It seems like it was set up. They were trying to keep the cameras off them the whole time to make it seem like it was real, and they weren't referring to it at all on the commentary. But I mean, Enzo Amore has done this before, where he went to Survivor Series and he caused a commotion in the crowd and they kicked him out, which gave him a lot of viral attention. So it looks like they were trying to get some viral hype for this as well. But it seems like, I don't know if the New Japan wrestlers were doing a good job of selling this, but it seems like they weren't aware that this was going to happen. I mean, it's a bad look if that is the case for ROH and New Japan to have partnered up and then ROH kind of going into business for themselves, not letting New Japan know that this was happening, if that is the case. Because, I mean, GOD are trying to build a storyline with Toriano. So this kind of makes it feel a little awkward. So my take on the match is that it was very action-packed. It's difficult to follow up a match like the previous one by the junior heavyweights, but they did as well as they could. I felt as if these teams could have done more if given more time to put on something even better. I did not feel as if Evil and Sonata specifically did as much in this match. I don't remember them really in the second half of the match at all, so I would have liked to see more from them here, because I feel like they're capable of more. So, yeah, it's 9 minutes, 45 seconds, less than 10 minutes. It's a 4-star match I gave it. I mean, it was very enjoyable, what was in the match. So, the next match is Tanahashi versus Zack Sabre Jr. coming out with Taka Michinoku for the Rev Pro British Heavyweight title. So before the match, as the commentators are talking, you can see Big Cass close to the ring area. The fans are still reacting to what's happening, and the camera would just pan away from time to time. They only would slightly refer to something going on. They refer to it as people trying to get attention, and they're just trying to hype the next match while this is all going on. Taka Michinoku coming out with Zack Sabre Jr. was a bit of a surprise. I don't think people were expecting him to actually come out with him this time, even though he's usually sort of his hype man. This is a guy who was with WWE during the Attitude Era. He's coming back to America. I think this is the first time he's done it since then. And I'm just remembering as a side note, what a moment he had at this very building, Madison Square Garden, in the Royal Rumble in 2000 when he was tossed out and fell flat in his face. That I think in that match, him and Funaki were just kind of entering the Rumble. They would just go in the ring just as a gag and then just get tossed out. But he's back here to do his hype shtick for Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre time! Before the match, Zack pie faces Tanahashi in a show of disrespect. After some chain wrestling and exchanging strikes, Tanahashi reverses a whip to the corner to crossbody from the second rope, showing off air guitar for the crowd. Ace goes for a jumping elbow drop, but it's countered, and as he's going to laying Zack Sabre Jr. into an armbar. So Zack kind of I thought that was a nice reversal by Zack there. He rolled over and got a really good pull on the arm, but was into the ropes and had to let go. But from this point on, he's continually focusing on Tanahashi's arm. Tanahashi at one point was going to flip back into the ring, holding onto the ropes when Zack sent him over. A signature spot he normally does, but he's not able to do it as his left arm gives out and he's just hanging on with his right arm. But Zack takes that left arm and puts him into an armbar while they're tangled in the ropes just to further damage it. At one point, Sabre baits Tanahashi to the ropes from the apron and did a head scissors armbreaker culmination, utilizing the ropes as well for leverage. Tanahashi then responds with a dragon screw into the second rope. Tanahashi and Zack Sabre Jr. exchange reversals from Ace's cloverleaf to Zack's triangle armbar, back to a cloverleaf by Tanahashi, and Zack makes it to the ropes to break the hold. Zack is still working the arm at this point and almost gets the pinfall with that step over bridge he does with no arms. Also follows it up with a PK for a 2 count. They then exchange bridge pin attempts. Sabre Jr. wraps himself around Tanahashi, so his legs wrap around the right side of the Ace's neck, and then one leg goes left on his torso, with Sabre's body focused on Tanahashi's right arm, like he's hanging off of him, and he's pulling the arm backwards. He brings Tanahashi to the mat in this fashion, and then stretches both arms backwards, wraps his legs around both of the arms, then pulls one of Tanahashi's legs back while he's doing this, as if that wasn't enough. And Tanahashi is forced to submit from this brutal hold, as Zack Sabre Jr. keeps his belt. I don't know what this hold is called, but it looked really nasty. I thought this match as a whole was good. The problem I have with the match is that I don't feel that Tanahashi really played to his strengths enough in the match. I felt that he could have worked the leg as a response to Zack attacking the arm. He didn't really do it much. I also thought that Zack didn't really utilize his strikes all that well. But though the match didn't really have that great of flow, I thought Zack's technique and the storytelling was good enough for the match. I gave it 3.5 stars. Lasted about 15 minutes and 14 seconds. I thought it was a good length for the match, but I felt that maybe Zack was more impressive in the match than Tanahashi. Not as a slight to Tanahashi, but because Tanahashi's had many great matches. It's just kind of, he didn't gel in this scenario with Zack Sabre Jr., I guess. So then the next match after this is Kota Ibushi versus Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental title. Naito as the champion. Story going into this match is that Kota has great respect for the title, while Naito, although he holds the belt, shows that he doesn't really value it as much by dragging it and talking about how he wants to hold the heavyweight title. And they also show that each wrestler does respect one another. There was a reference to them being the same age as well, and them both having fun when they wrestle each other. In the beginning, Naito is kind of clowning around, faking a tie-up, causing Ibushi to stumble past him as Naito moves away. They both have a nice sequence of reversals that bring both men to then do poses. Naito with the signature Tranquilo. Both men go back and forth, and eventually Naito goes on the advantage with Combinacion Cabron. Ibushi ends up getting the advantage back until he misses Naito in the corner and comes back to eat a front dropkick that causes Ibushi to flip back onto his head. This looked nasty, and Ibushi is selling as if he's concussed. Which, I mean, story is that he's concussed by Will Ospreay in that match by this nasty elbow at Wrestle Kingdom. Naito is working Ibushi's head at this point, figuring he's concussed. Ibushi hits a Hurricanrana from the apron onto the floor. Okada got really good height on that Hurricanrana from the apron onto the outside. After some good sequences, Ibushi hits a powerful lariat. He then hits a deadlift high-angle German suplex from the apron to the inside, with Naito almost hitting his head on the mat for a 2 count. At one point, after a series of pinning reversals, Naito has Ibushi cradled and drops him onto the mat on the back of his head, which looked dangerous. It wasn't from very high up, but it looked pretty bad, and pinned for a count of 2. I'm sure it hurt. This is a long, grueling match, and these two at this point are exchanging strikes to see who will get the better of the other. And Okada gets this sort of crazy look after he gets spat in the face and kicked in the head by Naito. He gains the advantage with palm strikes, but then goes for a kick that Naito ducks, then hits a reverse Rana, causing Ibushi's head to hit the mat. And Ibushi is groggy at this point. He's still staggering on his feet. But Naito hits the Destino. Ibushi kicks out at 2, and the fans are on their feet at this point. Ibushi reverses a second Destino into a high kick, then hits 2 Bumeis/Kinshasas, whatever you view Shinsuke Nakamura's knee count as. This was a 2 count. Then Ibushi goes for the last ride. Naito tries to punch his way out, but Ibushi hits it anyway for another count of 2. Naito is not going away, but Ibushi grasps Naito's wrists after the pinfall and hits his Kamigoye finisher for the 3 count and the victory. So he's the new IWGP IC champion, I should say. A title that Ibushi has great respect for. It's his first of the 2 major championship titles in New Japan, them being the Intercontinental and the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. This match had some great psychology, I felt, and had a good pace to it. The only thing that kind of held it back was that it didn't have that great of an ebb and flow at times. And at other times it did have that great ebb and flow, but would have liked to see that for the entire match. May have to do with the fact that the 2 wrestlers just don't mesh in that way, but it's still a great contest. Thought it was a great match. 20 minutes and 53 seconds. I gave it 4.25 stars. I mean, still enjoyed it. Fans were into it. It was good. So the next match is a triangle ladder match between Marty Scurll, Matt Taven, and the ROH World Champion Jay Lethal for the ROH World Championship. So before the match, we see the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Nick Aldis, join the commentary team, and he's obviously biased in this match towards his friend Marty Scurll, even though they have an upcoming title match. This match is also presented as the first of a double main event. So highlights of the match, Scurll and Lethal are having a tug-of-war over the ladder outside the ring. Matt Taven dives onto them to the outside. Marty eventually gains an advantage and sets up two ladders, one on an opposite corner, throwing Matt Taven into both of them twice, each. Lethal then backdrops Marty onto a ladder after this. Lethal hits Taven out of the ring and then throws a ladder onto his back, which looked like it hurt. Scurll puts Lethal in a Tree of Woe position with his head stuck in the ladder. Marty then hits the ladder twice with a chair. After some attempts from the combatants to get the belt, Matt Taven has Lethal with the ladder wrapped around his head once again and then knees him. The only thing I found it a little strange that Taven didn't really sell the knee hitting the ladder. Lethal thwarts an attempt by Scurll to get the belt and applies a figure four with the legs wrapped around the ladder with Marty still standing on the ladder, but taking this figure four leg lock that Lethal's applying. Matt Taven slides beneath Lethal, who is on the apron, and performs a running powerbomb onto the ladder on the outside, which was done really well. Fans erupted as Marty was calling for the crossface chicken wing after hitting Matt Taven with the 619. But Matt Taven prevented it from being applied to him by kicking him and hitting a DDT. Taven mocks the crowd and they chant, "F you, Taven." Superplex by Scurll on Taven from a ladder with Taven tried to hit a move from the top of the ladder onto Scurll when he was down. I thought this was kind of a weird spot that didn't make much sense. Just my opinion. Jay Lethal eventually makes his way up a ladder to go for the belt, but Marty comes up from behind him and applies the chicken wing. Lethal gets out, but Scurll tosses him down. I thought this was strange as well, just because I felt like, why doesn't Scurll just do the chicken wing and then Lethal just kind of pass out and fall? Taven gets up to prevent Scurll from getting the belt and gets his fingers on both hands snapped for his trouble. Marty gets hit off the ladder, but Taven can't hang on any longer because his fingers are in pain. Just kind of look goofy to me, to be honest. The ladders got crossed over into an X shape, and Scurll does a forward vertical suplex to Taven onto the ladders. Lethal comes into the ring and hits the lethal injection on Scurll. Bit of a dangerous moment here, actually. Lethal throws the X-shaped ladders outside and seems like it hit a fan on the front row. Fans are chanting, "That's a lawsuit," as Nick Aldis sarcastically comments, Apparently we have 20,000 lawyers in here." Matt Taven spears Marty Scurll out of nowhere from the apron onto a table on the outside. Jay Lethal goes 2 rungs down from the top of a really large ladder and hits Macho Elbow Drop onto Matt Taven through the table on the outside. You'd figure this would incapacitate Taven for a while. While Scurll and Lethal are in the ring fighting at the top of a ladder to get the belt, Taven is already up. I think like 20 seconds after Jay Lethal is up, and he pulls out a large purple ladder, sets it up, almost as if he didn't just get hit by a 20-foot elbow drop through a table. I'm just saying. All three men are trying to make their way up. Marty sets up a ladder to make a platform so it's easier on his hurt knee to get up. Lethal sets a ladder up on the other side in the same way. I don't know why. Taven hits Marty off, and then he and Lethal square off at the top. Taven hits Lethal with a belt, causing Lethal to fall onto the ladder he platformed, which I guess this spot looked crazy, which is why they did it. Matt Taven pulls the belt and wins the match. The Kingdom then come into the ring to celebrate with Taven, and this match seems to be meant to be a crowning achievement, so to speak. That pun was not intended. For his status with ROH as the promotion's top heel. I felt this was an entertaining match that had a lot of spots, like this was spot fest. However, the match was slow at times. It didn't have the best flow and had a few moments that didn't make much sense. That took away from the match quite a bit for me. It was a spot fest, as many ladder matches are, but I felt like they were going for too many spots instead of really having a match. It's my personal opinion. It kind of did hurt the flow of the match as well. I felt they were trying to have too many of those wow moments instead of having sort of a proper match utilizing ladders. That's how I feel about it, but it was entertaining. It's 29 minutes, 35 seconds, almost half an hour for the match itself. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. Seems kind of low for the amount of action that was in the match overall, but, I have my reasons for that, which I've already given. That's just my opinion. And finally, it's the second of the double main event, or to me, the actual main event. Kazuchika Okada versus Jay White, with Gato for the IWGP Heavyweight title, Jay White being the champion. So this storyline actually goes pretty far back. Jay White has yet to lose to Okada, having last defeated him on January 4th at Wrestle Kingdom. Okada actually brought Jay White into his faction Chaos in January of 2018, just after the Wrestle Kingdom of the previous year. Jay White turned on Okada and Chaos at the G1 Climax, but in a huge shock, Okada's longtime manager Gato turned on him as well to join up with Switchblade. They both then joined the rival faction Bullet Club, with White as the new leader. And Jay White actually rejected them first to join Chaos, but ended up joining them afterward anyway. Gato saw Jay White as kind of the next Okada, who will carry New Japan to a new cutthroat era, similar to what Okada did as the Rainmaker.
Okada had lost his way after losing the title last year following his record-breaking title defense streak, but has been finding his old Rainmaker self again by winning the New Japan Cup to become the number 1 contender. So, beginning of this match, it's pretty clear that Okada has the fans firmly behind him, and they're completely against Jay White, which is exactly what you want. The Okada as the babyface, and Jay White has the hated heel. So Jay White in the match, he's up to his usual antics, getting out of the ring at the annoyance of the crowd. Gato providing a distraction so White can get an advantage to FU Gato chants by the crowd, with White utilizing headlocks right now as he gets control of the match. Okada gets the advantage on White, eventually kicking him over the head, over the barricade, and goes for a DDT, but Gato comes and provides a distraction so that Jay White can throw him into the barricade. Some good heel work was done over here by Gato. Jay White with a Mudalock after working over Okada, and Okada reaches the ropes. White holding the move until the 5 count. Good heel tactic there. Okada no-sells Jay White's reversal kicks while in the corner, gives him a few forearm shots, and gets White up on the top turnbuckle and hits his signature dropkick, sending White falling to the outside. He then attempts the same spot at the barricade he did previously, and just like last time, Gato shows up, but this time Okada cuts him off, throws him over the barricade, then performs a running body press over the barricade onto the two men. And once they get in the ring, some good back and forth action. White first, then Okada with the neck breaker onto the knee. White trying to get away from Okada by collapsing away, but eventually succumbs to a shotgun dropkick into the corner and then from the top rope as well, leading to an elbow drop from the top. Jay White eventually gets back into the match with a flatliner out of nowhere and then a high-angle German suplex. White sends Okada to the floor with a backdrop from the inside of the ring. White brings Okada back into the ring immediately, not wanting a countout victory, and hits the Kiwi Crusher for a really close 2 count. Okada eventually hits the Tombstone and both men are down. Both men going nose to nose as they're getting back up, challenging each other with strikes. Okada gains the advantage, but then White outsmarts Okada by hanging onto the ropes when he goes for a dropkick. After some chops, White goes for a running attack off the ropes, and Okada hits a couple of dropkicks. White then reverses the Rainmaker into a sleeper suplex. A good sequence here leading to Okada hitting a spinning clothesline and then the Rainmaker, but White kicks out at 2. The fans at this point are at their feet and they're cheering Okada forward. White eventually hits Blade Runner but can't capitalize. They're both on the ground. At this point, I don't want to describe too much of the match. The story basically being told here is that White is just hanging on as Okada looks like the superior wrestler on this night. Jay White hits a low blow as Gato distracts the referee, some back and forth after that. Okada with the definitive finish, hitting 2 Rainmakers, a reversal into a Tombstone, and one last Rainmaker to once again regain the IWGP Heavyweight title. This is also the first time since Fujinami lost the title to Big Van Vader in the early 90s that 2 straight title holders did not successfully defend their title. That happened basically before Jay White was even born. I felt this was another great match on this show. The flow of the match was really good. The fans were into it. Even the usual in-ring sequences that both wrestlers do, they were good. The pace of the match was very good. It was clean. Well-wrestled match by both men with some great storytelling. I felt like this was a fantastic way to end the show and leave the fans on a really big high. So it was 32 minutes, 33 seconds long. 4.5 stars I gave it. Again, I thought this was a great match. I felt like Okada had the stronger showing than Jay White did. I'm not trying to slight Jay White, but Okada, I feel like, is the superior talent here. So overall, my thoughts on the pay-per-view is that I thought overall it was an amazing show. If you want to compare the two organizations in terms of how they performed on this show, and if you look back at my match ratings, New Japan clearly had the better matches. It seemed as if New Japan was more focused on putting on a great show, while ROH was more focused on attracting fans to watch their product. It actually makes sense when you consider where both companies are at. New Japan is trying to expand into the American market, but the bulk of their shows are in Japan, whereas ROH, they're the American-based promotion and trying to gain attention so that they can sell out shows and get bigger venues. They've lost the Elite recently and SCU as well, SoCal Uncensored, so they're trying to build their way back up again from those losses. And this show, I feel, is more of a building block that they can move forward on.